Hello, everybody. My name is Juan Michael. I am a senior at California State University San Bernardino. My major is business administration with a concentration in information systems and technology. And today I am joined with my co host.
Brian Bustamante. I am a sophomore in College of the Desert studying computer information systems, and I'm happy to be here, man.
Nice, nice. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing this podcast with me again. We're here today to share the values, share the information that we've learned along our journey in higher education, and hoping to inspire others to not make the same mistakes we made or get over the mistakes quicker.
Yeah.
So I just want to get a little bit brief background on you, specifically on your family, right? And you're going to college and deciding to go to college. Was college something that you always had on your radar, or was it not?
It was always on my radar growing up as a kid because I was always brought up, I'm a Gen Z, right? We're Gen Z, right? So growing up, I was always pushed to academics, but I never really had an idea of what I wanted to do. I just, as you're growing up as a kid, you're being told, "Oh, go to school. It's the best way to make something out of yourself. If not, you're a loser," kind of thing. That's like the whole trope that I grew up around. That was, at least from like the school system that I was part of, that was heavily pushed. My parents as well. They wanted me to go to college as well. But the thing is that nobody around me went to college. Nobody. My parents, they're immigrants from Sinaloa, and they came to the valley, to the Coachella Valley in the 80s. Uh, they basically worked for the most part like their whole life. My dad left, both my parents left their whole families in Mexico. My dad has like a lot of siblings, like 7 to 6 siblings. And so since he was 14, like he was providing over there because obviously in Mexico, especially in those times, like, there's limited resources. So it's like, it was kind of, you know, it was a common thing for kids to work at an early age to provide, especially if they have a big family. My mom was more of like a, brought up to be like a traditional, stay at home wife. She learned how to cook and all that stuff. They got married in their 20s, and then they came over here for a better life because they had my brother. And then when they came in the 80s, they, worked. My dad, he worked a lot of odd jobs, I would say. Not odd jobs, but just a lot of labor jobs. He was working for the fields for a couple of years. Man, he would tell me stories of like how this valley used to just be nothing but dirt plots, and now it's grown to a bigger city. But he would work as a pool construction guy, just like digging pools and making pools. Then he got into being an electrician for like a company, and then now he's doing landscaping for a golf course, one of the country clubs out here. And so my mom, at the same time, she's doing her thing, working as a housekeeper, working hospitality jobs, like just doing everything that they can to, provide a better life for me and my brother. I didn't come into the picture until like, man, till like the early 2000s. And so I grew up in a family that basically they were working class, but no one went to college. My brother had the opportunity to. He wanted to go to the Air Force. He didn't want to go to college. He wanted to go to the Air Force. My mom didn't let him. And then after that, he kind of just not kind of just coasted through life, I would say, and didn't want to pursue education or go back to the military. I was like, bro, like you were 17, like you could have just waited a whole nother year and not need mom's permission. But during that time, it was like the Iraqi war, the whole issue over there in the Middle East. So my mom was like, oh no, like if you go over there, you're gonna get, in the war zone. But she didn't know about, different branches of the military. So, but when I came into the picture, man, uh, I was a very quiet kid. I was a very quiet kid. I was very to myself. I was very good at school, and but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I don't think kids kids need time to like just be kids, because when you push kids to like do something, it kind of like tunes them out, because kids are curious. I was a curious kid. Like I was into a lot of things. You know, I was into art, I was into math, I was into sciences, but to decide off rip like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. I was good at school, and there were certain subjects that I naturally gravitated to, like I just said, like the sciences. Like during middle school, I would always do like science fairs and engineering projects. Um, but that pressure once I get into high school, where like the teachers are like, by your senior year, man, you need to make a decision. Like, nah, like apply to school. Like, dude, first of all, it was COVID, so one, like the whole world was like crazy. You know, we didn't know we were gonna be alive. I had just gone through a crazy death in my family with my grandpa passing away, and I just wasn't in the right headspace to just like make a decision like that, because I was like, man, I'm going through these messed up things. We had to take care of my grandpa. He was in hospice for that my whole senior year, and I was just like, man, you know what? I'm not in a good headspace to do that. During that time, I wanted to say I was like gearing up to go to school, but I knew I was not ready for that decision, because with me just saying everything that I just said, like I was good at like engineering and science fairs. I was gonna go to engineering, but that's just because of the teachers telling me, "Hey, you're good at this, study it." And I was like, "Okay," just like just like an NPC, you know, just like okay, like cool. But I, I'm glad for COVID in a messed up way, because it gave me that pause to really reflect, like, is this really something I want to do? And yes, I was good at it, but was my heart in it? No. Did I really want to go through years of studying physics and AutoCAD and go through like all of that because I want to, or is it just because I'm fulfilling other people's expectations? And when I really thought about it that way, I was like, okay, maybe I just need to pause. And that's crazy. To me, it was crazy because I was one of those smart kids where like everybody sees a potential. They're like, oh yeah, he's most likely to like go to get a scholarship, get a paid scholarship, because like I did a lot. You know, I was just one of those kids that just did well in school, and I went against the grain. I didn't do that, and I took a gap year, and it was the best thing because after that, I basically fell into content creation. Uh, while I was in high school, I was also studying. Not only was I in engineering classes, I was doing film, and then I befriended a friend in the local community who was doing content. The homie Angel Chavez, shout out to you. Uh, yeah, I met him, and then I got into video. I just fell into it, man. I dove head first. I saw him at a coffee event. Sixth Street was celebrating like their second year anniversary, and I had seen some of his videos, and I was like, cool. Like, I just went up to him and be like, hey man, I seen your videos, man. If you ever need help, let me know. Like, I just graduated, or I'm about to graduate. I was like, still my senior year. I was 2 months away from graduating, and then he gave me my first job opportunity like within a couple weeks, and then ever since then I was helping him with gigs. He was doing videography, everything from wedding projects, quinceañeras. We did music videos. It was everything that I didn't have expectations of it. Like I just thought I was curious about it, and I just dove into it. And so I knew like anything that I put my head into, I know I'm gonna make something happen. And so that carried me, and then I developed the skill of videography, but also like hands-on experience of like dealing with people, because when you're like in those situations with like especially special events, you got to deal with people, deal with families, but also acquiring clients, and then the whole business aspect of that too. So I got to experience a lot. And then I want to say I spent like a year and a half to 2 years, and then I started, after I spent time helping a lot of friends like in the videography space, I started doing my own stuff. And then I kind of gravitated, and I became part of this men's organization. It was like a private organization, and that exposed me to people outside of the valley. Um, that exposed me a lot, and I used a lot of my videography skills to help them because they were in higher positions. Like a lot of them were either doctors, sales representatives at like cloud companies. Um, there's a lot of people in the cybersecurity space in that community too, and that's when I got exposed, because I would go to their conferences and I would meet them. I would do photos. I was the video guy, and then after like I had did so many projects, I remember coming back from Dallas from a conference, from the Mills conference. Um, I looked at one of my old middle school notebooks, and it said like an I am statement, like I will be the first college graduate in my family to graduate college because I want to pay back my parents, or it was a way of like paying back my parents. And I looked at that and I was like, man, like, because at that time I was like fulfilled. Like I felt like I didn't really have like high expectations. Like being in videography was not really something that I was like, oh yeah, like I want to do this, and like I dreamt about it. Like I had high aspirations for it. Like honestly, I just took things as they came, and just like be useful, like in any situation, like support a friend in a project, or just if I'm there, I'll help. And so I was like, okay, I spent most of this time elevating and helping people. Now it's like, what is Brian going to do? And I was like, okay, now's the time. Because if I don't do this now, it's never going to happen. So I spent that, I looked at that notebook and I was like, you know what? It's time for me to go back to school. Because I had some college credits because of high school. But then I looked at like my network and I was like, okay, what do I want to study? What do I naturally gravitate towards? Technology. I've always been like that one kid in the house where it's like, hey, help me fix the TV. Like, how do you work this? Like, I was always the one just like helping my parents out with like little tech stuff like that, because I was always into technology growing up. Like, man, I was always like that one kid just fixing anything technical like that. And yeah, like when I used my skills of photography, I looked at my network and I was interested in cybersecurity, because as I was going to all those conferences, I met a lot of cool people, like I just said. And when I made the decision of wanting to go to school, I was like, cool, I know who to talk to. I want to go into cybersecurity. And one of my, shout out to Abdi Muhammad. Abdi works for a government contracting company, and I'm so blessed because I would not be in this position had it not been for him. And I asked him for 30 minutes of his time. I was like at a Starbucks. I was at a Starbucks on a Zoom call, and I asked him, I was like, hey, Abdi, I know you know me as a video guy, but I want to transition into cybersecurity. I want to know what this industry is about. What's the blueprint, bro? Like, tell me, like, what do I got to do to get in this space? And he tells me the truth, man. And I respect people that just shoot you straight and tell you how it is. He's like, Brian, there's no one size fits all solution to getting into the space, because you can go the school route, but I'd be lying to you if I told you that's the only route to go. You can get certified and you can do it on your own self-study, go the whole self-study route. But I'm telling you, especially if you want to get into government, you got to know people. And so he told me, you can go either way, you're going to be straight, but you're going to be needing to know people. And so I told him, and so he told me, lean on your strengths. You're a good people person. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but just knowing how you are, I think you'd be a good fit for a community college or college, whatever that looks like for you. And so I was like, okay, I took notes the whole time, bro. I was locked in, like taking notes, because this dude's doing it. This dude's doing it. And so he tells me, he's like, all these things. He's like, this is the way to go, A, B, C, D. He gives me the blueprint. So now I'm like, okay, like I feel so good after like that, like those 30 minutes. After that conversation, I enrolled a COD, and then I I go in. I go in, and like a year and 2-3 months later, I'm here. I'm here, bro, and I'm close to graduating. I need one semester left, and pretty much, man, it's been such a crazy ride. But I think with my journey, I've learned a lot in regards to just being in the right rooms and making sure that you're also working the room. No matter what room you're in, no matter who you're around, get to know people, because if you don't know people, you're gonna pay for it later. Um, my dad will always tell me, he's like, "You're smart if you learn from your mistakes, but you're wise if you learn from the mistakes of others." So some people, they gotta learn from their mistakes, but if you can, to save you time and money, sometimes you gotta go to the person that's been there, you know. And my dad always told me, like, if you want to do something, go to someone that's done it. Go to somebody who's doing it, and that's what I did. And because I had that clear direction, like I knew what I wanted to do, I think it's made my whole journey of going to college that much easier, because I had guidance. I had somebody I can look up to, somebody that was in that space. And honestly, man, I would say that was my cheat code. Like, I had access to somebody, but it was a byproduct of being in the room, meeting that person, but also like helping that person as well, you know? So that's my story, man. Pretty much of like how I ended up being in college. Was something that was like in the cards, but I didn't have a clear direction, and I just didn't know what 18-year-old knows what they want to do with their life, you know? So I'm out here, man. I'm doing it. It's been a wild ride, man. It's been a wild ride, and I'm excited to just get into this whole cybersecurity space, man. And so yeah, man, it's we're here. It's been a wild ride, and I'm just happy. I'm interested in just keep learning, and I can't wait to transfer out of there, pursue my bachelor's, and go into the field of cybersecurity.
Wow, that's really cool. You touch on a lot of really really important aspects that I think as a young man or as a young person looking into higher education is really important. Sometimes just because we're good at something, and sometimes because people push us to do something, like you said, you're doing engineering, you're really good at the science fairs and stuff like that, and your teachers and everybody around you is telling you, hey, you need to go into engineering, you're great at it, you're a shoe-in for it, but you in your heart, you didn't feel the passion for it, for that field, and understanding all the work that it was going to take for you to get there. You just understood that wasn't the path for you. And then going against the grain sometimes is very difficult as a young person, or as a person in general, going against what everybody's telling you to do and listening to yourself. And so that's really powerful from you. And then also having that knowledge of, I'm sorry for your loss of your grandpa, but during that time, you're like, hey, there's a lot going on right now. College isn't in the books for me right now. Right. And you know what? Like, I'm not going to go to college, but I'm going to pursue another passion of mine, the videography, which I know you enjoy a lot, and is a passion of yours. So even though everybody in the world is telling you, you need to be an engineer, you're great at it, you're going to excel at it, go for it, you within yourself had to say, no, I'm not going that direction. I'm going to go my own path. Even though it doesn't make sense to other people, I'm going to figure it out. Slowly but surely, through meeting Angel, he gave you a job, and through learning through him. And I think one key aspect here is giving it your all, no matter where you're going and like where you're at in your life, because that sets you up for the next phase, right? Because the people that you learn, the people that you meet along the way, they constantly are helping you elevate yourself if you're a person that they want to elevate, right? Because if you were a person that didn't show up, would hardly show up for the sessions,
Yeah.
or would come in with a bad attitude, Angel would have probably dropped you, and you guys probably wouldn't be friends to this day, right? And I think that's important to know, is also just coming from a place of humility and coming from a place of, I'm going to give it my best, even though I'm not where I'm at right now, but I understand that I'm building to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And then even though you didn't understand or you didn't know at that time, like, hey, this is what I want to do, or like, I don't know what I want to go to college for just quite yet. But right now that I'm still learning a skill, which is videography. And while I'm learning in this school, I'm still networking. So this is like a key concept that I feel like you touched on, is that whenever you went to go networking with the men's group, and this is something that you did, that you found out of your own volition, you went out of your own way, right? Because,
I didn't mention this, but I paid money to have access to this too.
oh, wow.
It's a crazy story, man. So it was during COVID, right? I was watching this. I was watching a lot of content. I think a lot of people during COVID were watching a lot of content. That's how I discovered my friend Angel. But at the same time, it was just like, man, there's just a lot of negativity. I was just looking for knowledge, and also like, that's how I got into learning about self development, in a healthy perspective. And I really like this podcast called the Roommates Podcast, and they were giving a lot of like self improvement advice, but also they were having a lot of like influencers, like people that I looked up to, generally, like teaching men's fashion and Alpha M. I had discovered the Roommates because of them. They had an interview with them, and basically, man, they had like what I liked about their content was that they had a lot of nuance instead of like extremes.
What do you mean by nuance?
Nuance, like they said that, hey, a lot of content nowadays is like, oh, if you don't make six figures, you don't have six-pack abs, you're not 6 feet tall, you're not a man. No, they were expressing ideas that being a man is not just about muscles and finance, that they were expressing that there's different layers of being the best version of yourself holistically, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. There's different levels of being the best version of yourself besides just valuing superficial things. That's part of it, but if that's your whole personality, then who's going to be attracted to you? Mercenaries. There's a difference between a soldier and a mercenary. A soldier will die for you, and in all aspects, right? But if you lean into the materialistic, you're going to attract mercenaries, people that just like you for the things that you can provide for them, instead of being holistic and being genuine, being the best version of yourself. And so I liked a lot of your ideas and a lot of the guests that they would have on. And eventually, Hafiz Balku, he started, he had like a live show event. He had like where he would invite all his subscribers into like this whole like conference, like live show in Texas. He was based in Texas at that time. And then he revealed the secret project he had, where he called it The Standard, which was the men's exclusive community. At the time, he was like, oh yeah, like men's image is a very important thing. And so he prioritized, selling these suits. And I was like, cool. I'd buy a suit because, one, I've never had a suit. I've always wanted one. I think when I was like 4 years old, I had a suit, but I just bought it to support him, and I was like, I'd look dope in it too. But by buying the suit, it granted me access to other members that bought that suit too. It was a 3-part collection. It was a black suit, it was a gray suit, and it was a navy suit. And I bought the navy suit, and I had access to the first 100 guys that had bought the suit. And so because of that, I was grandfathered into the community, because I was the first 100 investors of that community. And then from there, it gave me access to all those individuals that bought that same suit. I just thought it was I was going to get a cool suit, but then it grew into this whole thing where it's like I got to meet a lot of cool people, and I had access to, you know, go and travel to all these different places that I got invited to just by having access to this.
And did you ever pay like a monthly fee? Because I know sometimes communities have like a monthly fee that go with them. Did you ever pay a monthly fee at any point to be a part of this community?
At the time, no, I did not, because they had us grandfathered in. We were the standard 100.
Okay,
So
but other people after the standard 100 would have to pay
they did.
they
Yeah.
had to pay
Yeah.
the monthly fee. So I think this is something that's extremely important that we need to touch on is the investing in yourself, even when that looks like just watching YouTube videos on people doing what you want to do or stuff that resonates with you. For example, being a man, being a better man, being a better person, how to grow, not just your finances, your wallet, but also to grow as a person, to become the man that you want to be and that society is going to see. And you benefit society, right? And not just be somebody that you elevate yourself in order for others just to come and take from you,
Mhm.
right? And to set the standard for yourself. So I think it's really important as young men and young women to look up to people that have the values and the morals that we want to aspire to have.
Right.
And to even when we don't have the financial means, to at least watch their YouTube videos, because there's so many people out there right now creating content that you can get free information from. But also the fact that you invested in yourself. Now you said you had a suit when you were 4, probably for your first communion or something along those lines. And so, but that was the only suit you ever had, right? And
Yeah.
so, from your perspective, you at that point you probably didn't really have any opportunity to go and use the suit. You're just like, hey, in case I do need it, let me just like, I like this content creator, I like what they're doing, I like the message, I'm getting a lot of value from them, and I'm gonna buy this suit from them just because I want to support them. But not only that, but I'm also investing in myself.
Mhm.
Even though you didn't know where you were going to use the suit at that point, but luckily for you, it also got you grandfathered into this community. And then also the investment that you made of your time to be a part of this community, and not only just being a part of it because, oh, I got grandfathered in because I bought a suit, but you also were an active participant in which you were like, hey, what value can I bring to this community? And what you knew at that time was videography, and it's what they needed at that time. And so you brought that value to them, even though you didn't have, let's say, a monetary value that you could bring to the community, or let's say life experience to bring to the community.
Bro, I would add to that point. No, you're hitting everything on like the nail on the coffin, bro. Because I was the one of the youngest guys in that group.
How old were you at that time?
Bro, I was like out of high school. I was like 18, 19.
Whoa.
Like I was a guppy, bro. Like, nah, man. At that time, I was just like, bro. Like, I felt, bro. You talk about imposter syndrome. I'm in the room with like pharmacy techs. I'm in the room with doctors, with, you know, account managers at like cloud companies, sales representatives, like guys that, you know, like are either making 6 figures, on their way to making 6 figures, like guys that have like their ish together, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, I just graduated high school, and I'm just like, oh man, like this is crazy, because it's like I've never been exposed to like professionals, that like guys that are like, you know, doing cool things. And I'm just like, man, well, a lot of these guys are like in suits. I mean, I could take pictures. And so that's how I always thought about it. Like, be useful, you know, use what you have, use what you know, and just be useful, man. And that's like legit what helped me just get along the way. Is like, I never really like was good. Like, I mean, obviously I didn't come from money, but for me it was more of just about like, if I'm part of something, what can I help to help elevate that space that I'm in? How can I leave that place better than what I left it? Because that's how my dad always brought me up, is like, hey, whatever you're doing, make sure that people know who you are. And the way that you do that is by working really hard, because hard work is a universal currency. A lot of people respect hard work, but at the same time, get to be useful to people in the way where, not in a way where it's like for superficial reasons, like to be transactional, but to build relationships, like do favors for people, because people they won't forget you. But at the same time, man, I think that has been my superpower, was like me knowing that, like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing in these rooms, but I'm just gonna work it. Like, I'm just gonna meet these people. I'm gonna provide pictures for them, because it's like, hey, they're dudes in good looking suits. They might use it for, for professional reasons, personal reasons, what have you. But I did that, and I remember we had these things called experiences, where they would have different, weekends. They would have different, uh, events throughout the whole entire country. I got to go to an experience in Arizona, and they rented out this Airbnb mansion, and they had like all these like 3-day weekend kind of thing. And during that time, man, I'll be honest, any event that I went to, that first year, I provided pictures for all the members. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be providing photos. They had their own like video guys. Don't get me wrong, because they were shooting content for their own page and stuff like that. But um, like the organization had their own content people. But I went out of my way to give it to the guys, because it was my way of contributing to the community. And I was like, man, and that's how I got to meet people, because people would reach out to me. I was like, there was very few California guys, but it was like you had people from Texas, from Ohio, from New York, from Florida. Like, it was a multi like state like community. And so that's what I'm saying, is like it exposed me to a lot of different people than just being in the desert. So that's how I got that's how everything transpired, is I just used what I knew. I started from like what I had. I was like doing a lot of like videography, photography gigs. I invested like all the money I would make from a gig, I would put it back to equipment. Okay, like, how can I make this better? How can I make, oh man, like, this camera is dope, but I need better lighting. Okay, oh man, like like these photos are cool, but like imagine if I had a lens that, like, instead of me being close up, I would like just zoom in. So yeah, man, I was just like you, like I had that investor mindset, and I was just like, man, whatever I'm doing, I'm gonna reinvest it back. And sometimes I went to the extreme of like putting everything, like I didn't know anything about budgeting at that time. I would just put everything, like, okay, cool, I just got like this extra like 2 grand from this one project. Let me put all of it back in the business. Like, I was crazy like that. I was like taking risks, crazy risks like that. But I would say it paid off, man. It paid off in a lot of ways, especially in the relationship side. Sometimes I think it's worth paying because of the people that you meet. Because again, you meet people that are like-minded in mindset, but also it exposes you to people that are different. And I took a lot of things from my personal experience like into college. And when I went into college, I was like, I think I did already like the prerequisite work already, like just taking that 2.5 year gap year or gap years that I took, like being like a solopreneur, um, like doing like pursuing the whole videography thing. And when I went back to academia, it was like, bro, like it's like I did all the hard stuff now, and now it's like I'm using what I learned in the real world, in the academic world. And it's like, bro, I'm like I'm zooming, like,
What were you using?
what do you mean?
So you said you were using what you learned in the professional world or in the real world into the academic world. What was it that you learned in the real world that you use in the academic world?
Specifically, like prioritizing relationships, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of my opportunities came from like building strong relationships with people. Like, I'm saying, like what I just said before, like being useful. Like, when people call you up, like, hey man, like, can you do this for me? Or being reliable, like skills like that, like being reliable when people need you, or you help people on, you meeting people, like helping people out. um I call it just being genuine, because that's just like how I am as a person. But the skills of just being reliable, showing people they can, deliver, but also valuing relationships at the same time, because those are oftentimes what gets you noticed by the right people, but also presented to the right people, you know? And I learned, especially in the videography space, a lot of that, there's a lot of that, you know, whether if it's working with certain businesses, working with certain clients, depending on where you want to go. I learned that real quick, that, you know, it's not just what you know, but it's also who you know. And just valuing relationships in general, man, because at the same time, like, it doesn't matter if that person knows something specifically, but if they know the right person, then that could take you to the next level, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, right? Is sometimes people are like, I only want to network with the people that are studying what I'm studying. I am of the completely different mindset. Network with everybody, because you don't know where people are going to end up 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Just because they're studying nursing right now doesn't mean that they're not going to start their own business in 20, 30 years, right? Or you never know where life is going to take you, the twists and the turns, and everybody else is going through their own journey. And so knowing different people and helping them out in a genuine way, I agree with you, is an extremely important skill to have, because you don't want to help somebody just to like, oh, what am I going to get out of it? Because if you go at it from that perspective, with that intention or with that mentality, you're going to not deliver things to the full potential, and you're also going to have a bad time doing it whenever somebody doesn't reciprocate the energy that you put into the projects that you do. But when you come at it from I'm going to help out as much as I can, wherever I can, as best as I can, well, it ends up people are like, wow, that person, they really helped me out. Even though it could be as simple as having a conversation or introducing somebody or taking some photos for some people, it means a lot because of the space that you're coming at it from a genuine place of, I just want to help out. If you help me out, great. If you don't, great. Doesn't really matter to me. I'm just doing the things to the best of my ability. And another thing I want to highlight is the continuous investment in yourself, even when you didn't know it was gonna work out. You're like, oh, I just got $2,000 from this gig, but I'm gonna reinvest into lighting, I'm gonna reinvest into a new camera, into a new lens, but you didn't know whether that money was going to come back to you. You just constantly kept reinvesting and constantly reinvesting into the community that you were in the way that you could. And even though you're a videographer, what I want people to take away from this is to give the gifts that you have, right? So for some people like you're a videographer, photographer. That's one of your gifts. You have many other gifts, but that's one of your gifts that you provide. But for somebody else, they may not have that. But find that gift that you can provide to the community and provide that from a genuine space. For some people, it's just listening. Just listen to people that you talk to, that you meet in these spaces, and that can mean the world to them, because maybe nobody's listened to them in a while and listened to their problems and just been a listening ear, right? It can be as simple as that, even though that sounds simple, technically it really isn't, because it's being genuine and then being engaged in that conversation. And so another thing that you highlight besides investing in yourself is also, like, going back to earlier in the conversation, is being there for your younger self, right? Your middle school you said, or elementary school that you wrote in your journal?
Middle school.
Your middle school self, where you said, I am going to be the first person to graduate from college. And this was 2 years after you have graduated from high school. Weren't exactly sure. Was it 2 years or like a little while after you graduated from high school?
It was like in between, man. It was like a year and a half to like that, like beginning of that second year, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
It was a while, but I had to like stumbled upon. I was like doing spring cleaning, and I was like, like looking at like old like books you collected like throughout your years, and I was just like looking at them, like, man, like I really thought about that. But yeah, it was around that time.
So that, I feel like that's something also very important. Sometimes as we become adults and as we get older, we kind of lose the visions that we had for ourselves whenever we were younger. And we forget who we wanted to be and who we wanted to become and the goals that we had back then. But whenever we look back and we remember the goals that we had for when we were younger, and we look back and we're like, wow, I really wanted that for myself. And then you really think to yourself, like, hey, is this something that I really want? And then you're like, hey, this is something that I really want. And then you're like, okay, well, this is something that I really want to do. How am I going to do it? let me talk to the people that I know in my circle, in the network that I've created, that are doing something similar or have gone to college, and pick their brains. Each individual one, like I'm gonna pick their brain, and I'm gonna accomplish that goal that I set as a younger middle school self. Even though, like now, technically you could do whatever you want. You could decide not to do it, but you had the wherewithal to be like, you know what, this is something, and you thought about it, and you're like, you know what, this is something that I really want to do for myself. This is something that I want to accomplish. Okay, let me start figuring this out. Even though I don't know what degree I'm going to get just quite yet, but let me start talking to the people that I know in my network that I've provided value to, and just have a conversation with them and see where it goes. And through these conversations, because I know you probably had more than one with multiple people, to come to the conclusion that cybersecurity was going to be the place for you. And I think it's important to have these conversations and have conversations with people doing different things to pick their brain. Because you might say, I want to do cybersecurity, but then you go and talk to a cybersecurity analyst and they tell you about their day to day, and you're like, oh, absolutely not. I don't want to do that. For example, some people don't want to be on a computer all day, and being a cybersecurity analyst, well, you got to be on the computer all day.
Yeah.
Right. So it goes down to talking to people to understand what the career field is and what it entails and what the day to day looks like, so that you can get an understanding if that's something that you'd be interested in. And through the conversations that you had, that you discover that, hey, this is actually something that sounds very interesting to me. And so what I want to ask you now is, what made you interested through the conversations that you had? What made you interested in cybersecurity specifically, as opposed to all the other opportunities that are out there?
Well, being somebody that grew up with technology, I was just fascinated with the different conversations that my friends were having in regards to government. Like, how is government handling technology, especially with coming out of COVID, AI was born, or AI, became like a commonly used thing, like ChatGPT and all that stuff. And so my curiosity just gravitated towards that, where it's like, I've always been interested in like how companies are handling data. And again, having that pre-exposure of like kind of knowing, being at that foresight of like kind of being like my own boss in a way, or at least like working with other businesses. I know I have like that business knack for business in that way, where I kind of like look at things. Obviously, working on the visual side, I have the marketing brain for that. But also I kind of have like, I've been around different spaces where like how business works. I've always just been just interested in the conversations that they were having in regards to how just the government is handling technology, data, business with, and implementing all these different policies, how to protect our data, with all these different technologies and softwares because technology is something that, it's constantly evolving, right? But it's like, what is the government doing? I was just always infatuated by that. And so when I was, again, within that network, I would be just listening. I didn't know. My thing is like, if I don't know something, I'm going to listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, like I have no input on this. I'm just genuinely just curious. Like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? Obviously, I can't really disclose like certain things because it's government and, non-disclosure kind of thing. But there were certain conversations that were just like, again, like you said, just tapping into different people's brains and stuff like that. And it just so happened to be the cybersecurity space was just what I naturally was curious about. And that's one of the things that was always brought up to me about just practitioners in general in any field, where just to be successful in especially in the infosec space or in the information technology space, you're going to have long-term success if you just follow what you're naturally curious about. Because somebody that's very good, let's say I'm not even interested in cybersecurity, but I'm in for, because cybersecurity, it's a broad term, it's a buzzword, but there's so many different aspects to cybersecurity. There's cloud, there's networking, there's software, there's government risk and compliance, where you're working with like the policy aspect of how business work with data and technology and how all that how all of that works. So it's like being a doctor. It's like, cool, you're a doctor, but there's different specializations. That's where I got into it, and I was like, okay, like all these different. I'm kind of interested in like how the government, like the government tech side, right, of things. Um, Granted, there's still a lot to learn from my perspective, but that's how I went and discovered that route.
I really love that. And this kind of ties into the networking and why it's so important, having the conversations, creating community. It is also to listen in on conversations that you may not have a clue what they're talking about, right? Like you have no clue what they're talking about, but even still having that wherewithal to listen in and, hey, maybe there's something here. I'm not sure yet, but let me listen in, even though I may not understand what they're saying or all the, because there's a lot of jargon that comes in with standards, policies, guidelines, all those things, government work, cybersecurity. I may not understand every single thing that they're saying, but I can follow along certain things, and then I can ask clarifying questions and see whether this, to figure out what they're talking about, but also get the curiosity aspect. I think is really important. Is like getting curious about different things because you never know when you're gonna stumble upon your life purpose. What activates you, what
What gets
fires
you
you up,
going,
what
man?
gets you going
Like
exactly.
the reason why you wake up in the first place is like sometimes people just, it's so easy to just go through the motions of life, especially if you're, doing the same thing over and over again, right? But sometimes it's like I've always been somebody that's always been wanting to have a reason to do things. Why am I doing this? Like if I can't answer that, it's pretty much time to like call it quits because it's like I want to do something. I want to make sure I'm making the most out of the time that I have, you know.
Definitely, definitely. And so with the curiosity and with finding out like, hey, this is what I want to do, and you kind of have some background in the engineering aspect of, like when you're doing the science fairs as in grade school. Um, Now you're curious about it, but what I want to ask you now is you're a year and a half, 2 years into
Mm-hmm.
your major at College of the Desert.
Mm-hmm.
What has made, have you ever thought of changing your major? And what thoughts have come up? Or what has made you say, you know what, like I've been doing cybersecurity for 2 years. This is what I love. This is what I want to continue doing. What has sparked your interest? What has sparked your curiosity? What has lit in your fire? Makes you wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, I want to be a cybersecurity analyst, or in government and compliance, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the aspect it is that you want to work in."
I never really thought about switching my major because the whole reason why I'm at school in the first place is to go into that industry. So I never really had an issue like wanting to switch out because again, like I the whole reason of me being in school was because of that reason. Like I chose, like I had a game plan already set up. Like I want to do this, and I'm for sure 100% like set on it. Two, I'm just so interested in just like what everything is going. Um, I watch a lot of content, a lot of like people in the field. So I don't have access a lot of the times to like people physically that are in the industry, but I have access to, thank you to the beauty of the internet, digital mentors. So I watch a lot of digital mentors, people that are in the space that are giving their 2 cents, that are making content about it, whether if it's like from different facets. And I watch them just on their input of like, what's going on with the industry, where the industry is at, where it's heading, tips and advice, and just like things like that. I consume content within the field, things like news. I look at that, but at the same time, in these 2 years, I've been part of CTFs, or not CTFs, but I would say competitions. So at Cal State's, not Cal State, College of the Desert, we did um, the Cyber Skyline, which is backed by CrowdStrike as one of the sponsors, Microsoft, a whole lot of different sponsors, but CrowdStrike was one of the main sponsors. Uh, the Cyber Skyline competitions, we would compete against like a bunch of schools across the nation in online CTFs, capture the flags. So we would get like have different challenges, and like we would do cryptography. So like under like decrypting um, data and files and things of that nature, like in cryptography, like all these different methodologies of how data is being encrypted in a way where people that don't have authorization to those files can look into those files. So you'd be figuring out, you'd be tossed different challenges, but you would work in a team setting, and you'd have different aspects of the competition. Open source intelligence, where you would like literally just Google things. You'd be given a picture and be like, they'd ask, oh, okay, like using this picture, find out the location. And you'd be Googling, bro. Like you'd be getting the metadata, and a lot of this, dude, like you don't have to know everything. But that's the beauty of the competition, is that because it's a team collaborative environment, you're working with other people. Be like, okay, how, like, you're working with people. And I think that's the aspect that I enjoyed the most, was like through that process of doing those competitions, was just working with people, because I realized in that process I was really good at doing open source intelligence, because I naturally am good at using Google and just figuring things out from that nature. But I enjoyed the process of like being frustrated and like locking into that one piece of puzzle of like, okay, I got to figure this out one way or another, even if it takes me the whole competition. I won't do everything, but I want to make sure I want to get this right. And then I realized this person's really good at understanding like these different softwares, log analysis, looking at different logs and looking at like data, like looking for if there's a data exfiltration, like there's a hacker, right? What time was in this company scenario, was there a data exfiltration? And then you'd be giving all these different challenges and tasks, and we'd compete against like different schools. And throughout that challenge, man, like COD did really well. Like we placed like top 3.
Oh wow.
As a school.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I wasn't the team that I wasn't part of the team that placed 3rd, but I mean, still as a school, like just being like a little cybersecurity club in the basement of the library, it was a cool thing, man, because and from what my friend Abdi said and what a lot of these digital mentors say, there's a lot of people that are technical, right? They have the tech savviness of knowing how a lot of these software works, how a lot of these methodologies work. But if you don't know how to work with people, oftentimes you're not going to land that role. You're not going to get into those companies. Is going to make your job a lot harder. Even just explaining technical concepts in a way where you can talk to shareholders about in certain situations, because that's part of the job, right? Or talking to managers or clients about it. Like, you're very technical, but if you can't work with other people or deal with other people, you're going to have a hard time. And so I think I learned, like, being hands-on, but also the people aspect is what made me want to do this. Is like, man, I get to work with technology, but also like help educate people or businesses. Like, I see the value in this, and I'm like, okay, like to make better decisions, like I want to pursue this. And then on top of like learning all the different, methodologies like networking, subnetting, how like within a network in an office building, I'm explaining this in a simplified way, but it's like a lot of people hate networking because of subnetting, because subnetting is basically the act of a network is being distributed like in different departments. So a finance department does, like, there's no reason for a finance department to have data of like marketing, and it's just like the simple act of separating different, like within a network, having different little micro networks. But from like an actual technical perspective, it's a very hard concept to grasp. So it's just like learning those little things. I just like learning, man. Like learning and just like working with people. So I think that to me is like why I'm excited to do what I'm doing and what I'm continuing to learn and continuing to pursue.
You touched on a lot of interesting points. One of them being that being in cybersecurity, one of the things that I feel like a lot of people get wrong is that they think that they're not going to work with people, that they're just going to work with computers. But one of the key aspects of it is that you do have to work with people, and you have to work with relationships, and you do have to be able to communicate complex complex ideas and concepts in a simplified method and manner so that other people can understand you. Because I'm a information systems concentration, I understand the nuances of how technical it can get and how simple you can make it. But if you don't have that communication ability, if you don't have those people skills, a lot of the times you're not going to get hired to the roles that you want to get hired to. Because if you're not a people person, is like, if I don't want to hang out with you, why would I hire you? You know, like if the people that I'm working for, if they don't want to work with you, like let's say my computer breaks and I don't want to call you to fix my computer, like let's say you're working in IT and you're working in information and like in IT, but like because I know you're gonna get mad at me or you're not gonna communicate to me correctly or in a way that is nice per se. I might. I'd probably talk to my administration and be like, "Hey, listen, like I don't like this guy. Can we do something different or like somebody else?" So I think that's a key aspect to keep in mind for people that are pursuing the degree in cybersecurity. Although it's less people than other professions, but you still have a people component to it. And I think another thing that I'd like to highlight is, so you talk about this competition. So this competition give you the hands-on experience. And you talked about a little bit about the club. And so can you kind of like highlight the club for the students that are listening that don't know about it, or like students from other campuses and universities? How did you start this competition, or how did you get into it? Was this something that you started yourself? Was this something that was already there? Did you have to join a club? How did you go about joining the club? So on and so forth. I know the intricacies of it because I was actually in the club as well, but I'd like you to explain it, please.
Yeah, man. Pretty much. Well, I met. Funny enough, man. I met my seventh grade teacher. I reconnected with her because my eighth grade history teacher passed away.
Oh wow.
This was like at the start of like me joining COD. And I was like, oh man. And then I met her, and then I remember like after that whole ceremony was over, I had a great relationship with like my middle school teachers, like the best. And when I reconnected with her, I met her daughter, and she actually was in that the same major that wanted to pursue. And so she was kind of like a resource that she helped me. Tatum, if you're watching this or listening to this, shout out to you. You were a big help. She helped. She was actually in the club. She was actually somebody that was part of the club, and she kind of guided me in to. She's just like telling me, hey, like there's this club at COD. We meet every Friday, and it's the CODIS Club, the COD Information Security Club. And so pretty much like, it was basically kids that wanted to pursue cybersecurity, and it's been under different it's gone through different changes. Definitely, like we got moved. We were like originally in like one classroom, but then we got moved to the basement, things like that, like different changes. But pretty much I networking, bro. Like I got introduced to the club because of networking. At the start of me just going back to school, that whole first like week, those first couple of weeks, man, I was just asking people for resources. I was like, hey, I'm a computer information systems major. Are there any resources, any clubs, organizations that are like related to this field? Whether if it was like students or whether if it was faculty, I would ask like just like, hey, is there any resources that could guide me in this general area? And then from there, I discovered the club. My friend Tatum introduced me to the club, and then from there I got to meet people within the club. A lot of cool people, a lot of people that know a lot of stuff. It definitely humbled me because I was like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna lie, man. It's not easy going from like you being known. Like I think like what that first year of college taught me was humility. Like I legit had to like remove my ego from like, it was a challenge to my it was like a huge hit to my ego, because I went from being very proficient in a specific field and being known for like being very good at something, to now going to zero and being a noob, like not knowing, like starting from zero. And I thought like, man, like this is crazy, like I'm doing this, like I know nothing. But I think that's the beauty of it, is like taking that on and just enjoying the ride, enjoying the process. And because of that, it's allowed me to, having that humility, it's allowed me to, again, work those rooms, build those relationships, ask the right questions, find those resources. Because if you don't put your ego aside, it's going to be hard to people to want to work with you, but also for you to find those resources if you if you become your own obstacle.
Definitely. You definitely have to go into a lot of new spaces. I feel like even as a professional, even as knowing everything, or if you know a lot in your field, always having that humility, because things change and rearrange. And it's always important, especially when you're going to school, to ask questions. Even in a professional sense, ask clarifying questions like, hey, I don't know everything that's going on here, but hey, this is what I want to do. How can you guys help me? What resources are there? Now, you were an information systems major, a cybersecurity major, but if you're any other major, I highly recommend that you do the exact same thing. Be a part of the clubs, because a lot of the times they have a lot of really cool opportunities, and you get to meet a lot of really cool people, and you guys have a similar interest that you guys are currently working on or working towards.
And a lot of times those clubs, they'll introduce you to people that are representatives from companies, organizations, and that's how you get your internships. So the same thing, the same concept you said, like you don't know who that person you spoke to in the club, they might end up working for a company, and there might be an opening at that company. I already, within that club, I already know a friend of mine. She was in the club, and I was actually part of her team, like in the CT, like in the competition, and she already works for the city of Indio, like on the information, like technology side. Like stuff like that, man. It's like it's happened before. So it's like, a lot of these things, like a lot of these tropes are often said, but it's for a reason. It's because it's reoccurring, right? Like there's a pattern to a lot of these things, where like getting a role or just being successful in regards to like getting maximizing opportunity. Success is subjective, but to me it's like anything that has to do where like you're generally attracting opportunity, I think that's success, in my opinion. So to me, success is like you're in a space where you have a healthy network, and opportunity is just attracted to, like you're attracting opportunities your way. So to me, I think like, man, there's just, if you're in a space like that, to me, you're crushing college, because you're already making the most out of it. And I think I feel good because I'm in a healthy space like that. I got to meet you, and you got to meet me, and then we got to be part of the same org. Like everything is networking, man.
Everything is networking. I 100% agree. And you never know, like when I first met you at the CSU Young Males of Color Consortium, you show up with your DJI camera and you're videoing everybody. And I'm like, I introduce myself to everybody typically in any organization that I come to. But I was like, yo, what are you doing? What are you up to? I was curious about what you're up to. And then you're like, oh, this is what I do. I want to record my college experience so that one day I can reflect back on it and see everything that I've been up to. And so I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so I would have never imagined at that time when I first initially met you that we'd be doing a podcast together, or even going golfing together, or any of the things that we've been doing, right? Like, and that's a relationship that developed over me saying yes to an opportunity and you saying yes to an opportunity, and then coming together with the best intentions at heart of just like, hey, I'm going to have a good time. Let's see who we meet. Let's see what happens. And then you never know what ends up happening, or who's going to be who, or what's going to end up happening. Because the tables turn a lot in this life that we have. But if you're constantly putting your best foot forward and being genuine and coming into relationships with curiosity and humility, the sky's the limit. People are gonna call on you for different reasons, and if you put the best work always forward, there's going to be a certain point where all the great energy that you put out into the universe eventually is going to come back.
Yeah.
It's going to circle back. It may take a year, it may take 2 years, it may take 10. But you keep putting good energy into the universe, you keep putting that genuine energy, it's going to come back, right? And so that's something that's really important to note. And I'm really grateful to have known you and to know you, and for our friendship, how it's developed. But it's like, if I wouldn't have gone to that conference, if I would have said no to that opportunity, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I would have met you later on, but we wouldn't have had the same connection, or like maybe our friendship wouldn't have developed the same. But it's saying yes to those opportunities, because you never know where it's going to take you. And then having that humility to talk to people that you don't know and saying like, hey, what are you up to? Like,
that's a big thing, bro, in college. Because like sometimes it's like in high school, you get a lot of that where it's like you don't really branch out. You just like stay with the same circle. A lot of times I feel like college does that. Like college, like that's the time, like, because in high school, everybody that like used to go to the same like middle school, elementary school together, like the childhood friends, like high school is that time where like you're not really branching out. You're kind of like staying within the same circle. Maybe you meet a few friends here and there that you didn't really go to like the same school with, that you just happen to be good homies with. But when you go to college, sometimes like a lot of friendships, like a lot of relationships, they split, right? And college is like a new world where you have opportunity to meet people you never know. Like, bro, like I only knew people within the valley, and like you're the first person I know that like came from Georgia, you know what I mean, that's in the valley, that, you know what I mean. So it's like, had I not done that, everything's a cycle, everything's like a butterfly effect, whatever. But it's the same thing, man. Had I not said yes to that opportunity, like who knows where the door would have opened, right? I mean, at the end of the day, man, I think when it comes to opportunity, if it leads to like something positive, whether if it's like there's gonna be someone new or I'm gonna learn something, I think it's best to always look at it from that perspective, because there's good opportunities in that regard. And I think those are the good opportunities where it's like, if I'm going to learn something, I think that's a positive. If I'm going to meet somebody with that possibility, that's a positive. So I always think of like, if there's a yes to any of those two, do it.
100%. And I 100% believe to be an active participant in your life is extremely important, right? Like even showing up, there's a passage in the Bible. It says, laugh with those who laugh, cry with those who cry, right? And you never know what's going to happen. And one of the things that you mentioned is like the Coders Club. I'm sorry for your middle school teacher passing, but
yeah.
You went to their funeral and you weren't expecting any opportunities to come from this. You're just like, hey, I want to go pay tribute to somebody that was influential in my life, somebody that I built a relationship with. And all of a sudden you end up getting privy to an opportunity that you wouldn't have been privy to, and you meet somebody that you wouldn't have met if it wasn't for you being an active participant in your life and just being a genuine person and showing up when you're meant to show up. And I think that's extremely important, and something that people should take away is just like, it could happen anywhere. It's just like talking to people, not expecting anything to come out of it, but just like having communication and just being a genuine person and just showing up, just being that active participant. And because if you don't actively participate in your life is going to go whichever way it goes, and it more than likely is not going to go the way that you want it to go, right? And sometimes when you are an active participant in your life, a lot of times it may still not go the way that you want it to go, but it's going to go into a whole lot of different opportunities that are going to open up for you, which may go into places that you didn't even imagine, or which are way better than what you could have planned yourself, right? So you always got to open that door, see what's behind that door, walk in and put your best foot forward and be the best person that you can be, and great things are going to happen, And, right now I'm 27 years old, and
It's crazy, guys, because he's saying this, but he does not look 27. I thought like this dude was like the same age as me, because you do look good, bro. You like, you know what I mean? Like, had you said your age, hey, bro, I'm just saying, like, I did not expect you. I thought you were younger, but hey, you know,
Yeah, well, thank you.
you
Thank
got
you
that
for
fountain of youth, man.
Appreciate you for that. But what I'm trying to say with this is I'm 27 years old. I've been putting my best foot forward since my whole life, and a lot of the stuff that I'm starting to see into fruition, I'm not starting to see it until now, right? Or like a year ago, 26, right? And I've been putting all this great energy out there, and I've been doing all these things, helping people out, and I just started seeing it come back. And it's like all of a sudden it's compounding. So many opportunities are opening up for me. But again, it's from like from a young person seeing this, or even an older person, because you could start at any point, right, of developing that positive relationship with yourself and with your community, and eventually it's gonna blow up. And it may take a year, it may take 10, it may take 15, it may take a lifetime, but you're gonna feel great. Either way, because you know you're putting your best foot forward, no matter what anybody else does, what they think or whatever or whatnot. But you're gonna know within yourself, within your heart, that you're being authentic, that you're being genuine, and that you're putting your best foot forward, and that eventually it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back.
Yeah, I agree. You give what you put out, or no, you get what you put in.
You get what you put. You get what you put in. Now, in order to So just like one last thing before we finish out for today, I just want to ask you, like, we've covered a lot of things in this episode. What's one thing that you wish you knew before going into college?
Man, that's a hard question, man. That's a hard question because there's a lot of things, but just to choose one. Honestly, man, when it comes to college, I think definitely taking more chances on yourself. Bet on yourself. Realize that college itself is not the end all be all. Whether if you choose to go to college, you choose to go get a master's, a PhD, an associate's, or even a trade, like even a certificate program, just know that you going to college is the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum. But if you utilize your resources, if you bet on yourself, you take a chance on yourself in regards to putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, meeting people you don't know. Bet on yourself. Believe in yourself. Say, regardless if you're in nursing, or I know a lot of people that are pursuing medical, degrees and stuff like that, and it's hard. It's one of the hard fields. But I'd say, like, be confident in yourself, bet on yourself, no matter how hard things get, have a strong why. That's why I started college in the first place. For me, I didn't start college because it was expected of me. I was looking for a why, that strong desire of why did I want to do this. Find your why, but also bet on yourself, because at the end of the day, they say the house always wins. You are the house. So if you always bet on yourself, you'll never lose.
I love that. The house always wins. Bet on yourself. Open those doors. You never know where they're going to go. Like and subscribe. And
tune in for more episodes.
Tune in to next time. And whatever value you got from this, whatever you find most important, or a challenge, I challenge you. One thing that you're going to take from this and use in your college journey or your trade school journey, put it in the chat or put it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments below, guys. Like and subscribe. See you guys on the next one.